Good morning and welcome everyone to session 2. If you joined us for our first session today, welcome back. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. This is the Leveraging Insight to Know Where Your Students Are session. And my name is Samantha Greco, and I'm the support lead for the Insight application, and I'm going to be facilitating our training today. I have with me 3 colleagues who are going to be supporting answering all of your questions in the chat. They are Danisha Das, who is the product manager of the Insight application, Cleo Zhang, who is the engagement lead on this application, and Elena Antonovich, who is the policy lead and a member of the support team. And all 4 of us are very happy to be with you today, very honored that you chose our session to come learn with us today. As you know when you signed up, but I'll refresh your memory, this session is going to be focusing on using Insight to look at 3 different topics. And those are looking at trends in advanced course enrollment by race, supporting students in earlier cohorts to graduate, and identifying students with NX courses. Hopefully you were able to review the tips resource for this session on the iLearn platform before today. If not, that's absolutely fine. We will briefly walk through the features that we're going to be talking about today, as well as show you many resources that you can use on your own time to better learn how to use the application. My colleague Cleo has just put in the chat the link to the Insight application. So on your own screen, if you wouldn't mind logging in to the Insight application, I think that it'll be very useful for you to be able to navigate around once I move into the application as well. And we also are putting in the chat the sign-in link for you to be able to sign into this session. This is session number 16, so you can go ahead and sign in for that. While I'll be demoing all of the features that we are going to be discussing today, the bulk of this time we want to use as an office hour Q&A to allow for you all to ask us questions about the data that you're seeing in your school and how best to leverage the application to support that analysis. So before we get started, we are recording this session, so there's no need to record it on your end. And before we turnkey it with all of you, we'll be blurring out any confidential student level data that might appear on the screen. I will be doing my best to avoid displaying confidential student information on the screen. So where I avoid doing that, I will let you know where you can find that on your end so that you can have the most robust hour in using your time here today. So in a minute, I am going to do a brief walkthrough of the Insight application as a whole. What does it do? What data do we have, etc. Then we'll use 45 minutes to walk through each of the 3 topic areas. We'll give you time to look at those features on your own, and then time for the Q&A. We're going to preview an upcoming release that we have happening in May. So to let you all know what you can expect to be appearing in the application, we are constantly developing new features and enhancements for the application. So we want to let you know what to expect. And then at the end, we'll use time to review the escalation plan and resources. So where you all can access this information for your training needs or turnkeying needs. And where to ask questions if you still have them after looking at our resources. As I'm going through, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Again, as I said, I have 3 colleagues with me here today who are going to be supporting answering those questions. And then when we pause for the Q&A for each of these features, you are more than welcome to come off mute and ask your question. But if we could hold coming off mute until we get to that portion, that will help me to make sure I'm moving through this presentation in a timely fashion. So thank you to everyone. Alrighty, so what is Insight? For those of you who are not familiar, Insight is a DOE web-based tool. So this application is built in the Office of Policy and Evaluation by a number of my colleagues. So I'm not selling you anything today. This is very much something that is accessible and free for you to use. You can log in right now in the link that Cleo has just put in the chat. And essentially, Insight is pulling information from various DOE systems. So you're able to see academic progress, attendance data, suspension data, and we're aggregating all of that information for you so that it's hopefully a one-stop shop for a lot of the data that you're accessing across a variety of systems. We also are providing this data with the ability to look at specific subgroups of students, and we'll definitely look at that today. So that you're able to see and address any disproportionalities that you might be seeing in your data. And most importantly, I'm sure as we hear a lot in our user interviews, this is timely data. So a lot of the data, or most of the data that we are receiving is a daily upload. And so this particularly for attendance, which we're not going to talk about too much today, that is a daily feed to help you to be the most actionable that you can be. As I mentioned, we are pulling from source systems across the DOE. Those include systems like STARS and ATS, and so that is for where a lot of our daily information pulls are coming from, and it includes information for all currently active students. Now, the nuts and bolts, you can access this tool. All of you should, as principals, should be able to log in automatically. Other members of your school staff who can log in are APs, guidance counselors, data specialists, parent coordinators, and the principal secretaries. Teachers do not currently have access to Insight unless they hold one of the roles listed above. And we also, this application is accessible to field staff. So your borough citywide office support staff, as well as superintendent office staff, do have access to this application to also support you in any of the analysis that you are doing. So with that, we are going to move into the actual application, since that's the best way for all of us to learn together. Alrighty, so the first portion of today's time, we want to talk about supporting equitable programming in advanced courses at your schools. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate over to the feature that we use to support this analysis, and that is the Advanced Courses by Race feature. You can access all of the features in Insight 3 different ways. So this is the main homepage of Insight. All of these cards that you're seeing, the colored cards, are all links to each of the features within Insight. You can also use this hamburger menu, as they call it, on the upper right-hand corner and navigate to the features that way. And then there's also the menu here, Dashboard, Plan, and Reflect. And this first feature we're going to talk about is the Advanced Courses by Race, found under the Reflect menu item. So the purpose of this feature is to allow you as a school to review all of your advanced course enrollment by racial subgroups. And so you're able to review across 2 to 3 different charts, depending on the information that you're looking at. The school enrollment by race compared to the enrollment in the selected course or courses. The students enrolled in these advanced courses compared to the students not enrolled in the advanced courses. And then a third chart that I'll show you in a minute, which is all enrolled students in those advanced courses who have taken the AP exam to provide you with that information. So I'm going to go ahead and walk us through very briefly. And I'm selecting all AP courses. Alrighty. So as I mentioned, this first chart is our school enrollment compared to enrollment in all AP courses. And you'll see here we have some line graphs that are showing 6 different racial subgroups where we're comparing the, on the solid line, the students that are identifying in that particular racial subgroup who are enrolled in all AP courses. That's the course I selected at the top. And compared to the data, which is The dashed line is the racial subgroup, the population of the whole school population that identify in that particular racial subgroup. And you can read it in the instruction text, but essentially what you want to be looking for is ideally these lines in the chart are very close together, showing that there's a proportionate population of students within that subgroup who are enrolled in AP courses, which again is the selection that I've made from this dropdown. You can't see this dropdown on your screen on the shared screen on your end, but you should be able to see these advanced courses on your end. This page is available to high schools and middle schools that have advanced courses. Our second chart is, again, as I said, enrolled, all students enrolled in courses compared to students who are not. Here we want to look for, in terms of proportionality, that all of these solid bars, which are the students who are currently enrolled in the courses, are about the same length across all of the racial subgroups that are listed here. And then here's where that third chart comes in. And here we're able to see the students who are enrolled in the courses who actually took the exam. Now, obviously, who took the exam is from the year prior because we're in a current school year where the students haven't taken the exam yet. But this is available to be able to see for last year's data. Now I'm going to allow you to click around for the next 2 to 3 minutes on your own screen. And as you're doing so, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And if you can raise your hand if you would like to come off mute, that way we can make sure we're going one by one to ask any questions out loud. And as you're looking at the screen on your own end, I encourage you to sort of click on these various dots that are on the screen, which are going to give you a narrative of what you're seeing on the chart. And if you're clicking on any of these bars in the second visualization, you're going to see a student list for the students that are associated with that particular bar. So in this case, if I clicked on the green bar here, the solid green bar, I would be able to see a student list of students who are enrolled in all AP courses at my school who identify as Black. And as I mentioned, I went ahead and clicked on all AP courses from this dropdown that's listed at the very top of the page. Again, you can't see what's in my dropdown on my screen, but on your end, you should be able to see a number of options listed. And that's all of your advanced courses, all of your AP courses, so those bundled together. And then each individual course you are able to select. So if I wanted to take a look at AP Calculus BC, for example, I can go ahead and select that from the dropdown. And now I'm able to see the breakdown of this information for that particular course. And you'll see obviously how the data changes here, right? We're seeing a bit different of a visualization for this particular course than we were when we were looking at all AP courses aggregated together. I also want to mention here that as you're navigating through this feature in particular, because we are looking at disproportionality, our user guide, which I will be showing you at the end of our time together today, is particularly useful for looking at this data. We have a lot of guiding questions in there to help you to not just analyze the data and understand exactly what percentage of students in each racial subgroup are involved or are enrolled versus not, but really to dig into why aren't we enrolling students at a proportionate rate, or if we are, how do we make sure that all of the students that are enrolled are actually taking the exam, et cetera. So there's lots of ways that we want to support you in being able to dig further into this data. And those are all in that user guide, which again, I will be showing you all at the end of our time together today. Alrighty, so I'm going to shift us over, since I'm not seeing too many questions coming in the chat, I'm going to shift us over to our second topic that we want to talk about today, which is supporting students in earlier cohorts. Now, for us, earlier cohorts are defined as students with an expected graduation date year of 2020, 2019, or an earlier cohort. And so for those students that are still enrolled in your schools, really wanting to identify for them what data we have to best support them to get to graduation. So for this particular prompt, we are going to be looking at two different features in Insight, and those are the school dashboard and graduation progress. Now, the school dashboard is a feature that is super useful for you for a variety of different reasons, this one just being one of them. So I'll quickly walk through everything that's on this page, and then I'll focus in on the graduation progress piece, which is where we're going to be looking for our students in earlier cohorts. So in general, this feature, the school dashboard, is a really, really useful place to start when you're coming into Insight, either for the first time in general, or just if you're logging in on a daily or weekly basis. The school dashboard is going to provide for you a very high level of information across a number of different indicators. So this page is broken into two different columns, the first being information pertaining to all students in your school. And we have notifications listed for 4 different topics: attendance, suspension, graduation progress, and regents. Now for attendance, we break that into the attendance rate at your school, as well as the percentage of students who are at risk of being chronically absent. For suspension, we're looking at the number of students suspended per 100 students, as well as repeat suspensions. Graduation progress, we're looking at whether the percentage of students who are on track or off track for graduation, and on track or off track related to credits and exams, just credits or just exams. And then regents, which is obviously not as timely right now since we haven't had an administration in quite some time. But here we would be showing the percentage of students that did not pass the either for Algebra 1 or ELA Regents assessment for the June 2020, August 2020, or January 2020 and 2021 administrations, which we do not have data for, obviously, in here. So for the second column, you're able to add a subgroup. And here's where we're able to filter all of the information that I'm seeing on the left-hand column for a particular group of students. And for this, I'm looking at the cohorts, as I mentioned before, class of 2020, class of 2019, and earlier cohorts. And so I'm able to select multiple subgroups from this particular pop-up so that I'm looking at all of the students that are in those earlier cohorts. Obviously, as you're seeing on your screen, there's many different ways that you can look at subgroups across this data. And this pop-up should be familiar to you across a number of the different pages. We allow you to add subgroups to look at data on the attendance page, on the suspension page, that you're really able to look for those, look at those comparisons and perhaps identify any disproportionalities. So if I go ahead and click submit, I'm now going to see those same cards that I was just looking at before, but now specifically filtered for my students that are within those earlier cohorts. Now, if you're looking to identify which students fall within those earlier cohorts that I selected from this filter, you are able to click on any of these cards, these notifications, and see a student list appear on the right-hand side that lists out all of the students who are in any of these 3 cohorts. And for example, if I clicked on this one, I would see the students who are in those 3 cohorts who are considered at risk of being chronically absent. I'm not going to click on the notification because then we will see a student list appear on the right-hand side. And obviously, we're trying to minimize the amount of student confidential information that is appearing on the screen. But this is an example of hopefully on your end where you're able to click and see which students are in those lists. You can also do the same, which I didn't mention before, but you can do the same for all of those all students lists as well. So now I'm going to take us over to graduation progress, because what we're seeing here is obviously a super high level of information for all of the students in my school or all of the students in a particular subgroup, but I'm not really able to dig deeper into a particular student's information that we can look at. So let's go over to graduation progress, and I'm going to click on plan and then graduation progress in order to get there. And same as before, what I'm able to do is filter the student list on the left-hand side using these filters for cohort. I'll give you all a minute to navigate there and do so on your end.
I just want to quickly add a disclaimer. So the school that you're seeing is a transfer school, which is probably why you're noticing the numbers are slightly lower. One part of the focus of our presentation and office hours today is to see how we can target students who are in the earlier cohorts who didn't graduate on time. So that is why the data you're seeing might look a little different from the data that might be for your school. So just keep that in mind as you are, as Samantha's moving forward into the graduation progress section.
Thanks, Danisha. So on your end, hopefully you've pulled up the graduation progress page, and what you're able to do is click open this cohort filter, which allows you to select, again, those students that are within an earlier cohort. So again, I'm filtering for V, U, and earlier. And below that, you'll see that my student list has updated to reflect the number of students and the list of students who are within that particular cohort. And now for this page, I'm not going to click on a student's name, but I encourage all of you to do so on your end. I'm going to bring us actually over into the webinar, which is a resource that I will show us at the end. So what I'm showing you on my screen now, my name is Elena, who is in the chat right now. And this is demoing, so as you can see, it's about a 9-minute video, which is probably the longest video that we have in all of our webinars, which we have one for every single feature in Insight. And you can see right on the screen the same page I was just on. And now what we've clicked on a student's name, and we're able to see an overview of all of their information as far as are they overall on track or off track for the particular diploma that we're looking at? What's their FAFSA information, their CUNY application, SAT, ACT score, lots of very high level information. And as you scroll further into this page, you're able to take a look at all of the course credits that are required for this particular pathway, how many of those courses and credits the student has completed and passed versus which ones are still left to attempt, and which ones are currently in progress. And then beneath that, we are providing an overview of that same information before exams. And so which exams are required for this particular pathway, and which has the student already attempted and passed, and which are still yet to be attempted or the student has not received a passing score for. Now I'm going to pause here again and let you take a minute and look through these features on your end. So again, that's the school dashboard and graduation progress. We go back and bring us to the home page so you're able to see where to get those. And again, that's the school dashboard and graduation progress. At the very bottom of this page, we have an option to download these reports, and we allow you to do so in a number of different ways. So you are able to download all of your reports for all of the schools that you have all the students that you have selected. And you can do so by downloading one PDF containing 158 reports, and these print beautifully on two pages. Or you can also download a zip file with 158 separate PDFs. So let's say you have filtered or not filtered your list of students, and you are wanting to provide these reports or have your guidance counselor download them to meet with each of the students. You can download this information probably most optimally in separate PDFs in a zip file. and then go ahead and print those or pull them up online. We allow you to choose between the different diploma types when you're downloading these. Just note that you're selecting one diploma type for downloading for all students. And you can also download and print this information for one student in particular. So if I click on a student, I'm able to see that option to print for just one student at a time. But you also have the option of bulk downloading and printing.
There is an option on the top where it says print report or download report as a PDF that Samantha is currently circling on. So if you just want to print this one page, you can click on any one of those options. One will give you a PDF and one will just directly send it to your printer.
All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to shift us over to our last topic, and that is identifying students who are in need of makeup courses, who have a grade of NX. And so one preview for you all here is that we will be adding this information into the graduation progress feature that we were just looking at. Currently, we're not distinguishing between courses that have a grade of NX in that particular feature, but we will be doing so in our release in May. And so you will be able to distinguish and see that information on a student-by-student basis. But for now, we're providing that information in our downloader feature. You can access this feature again from the homepage. It's a purple tile here, or from the plan menu item. And on your end, what you want to be doing, in general, the downloader can be used to download information across a number of different types of data. So we have test data, graduation status, attendance, IEP, and MLL, ELL data. And you can check any of these boxes to download into a single CSV across these top check boxes. But for us, for the purposes of identifying students who are in need of makeup courses, we're going to download our course data file. And so I can click on that checkbox and download a CSV, which I've already done for us today. And on your end, as it says, this is a separate file. So you're able to grab all of these top checkboxes together in one big CSV, or you can just download your course data. Now, I'm downloading the course data for all students at my school because my student list is not filtered. But if you were interested in just taking a look at all of your students in need of makeup courses within a particular cohort or learning preference, et cetera, across all of these filters, you can do so and download that data accordingly. What we're looking at is each row is a different course for the student that you have downloaded for. Now, what I'm going to do, I added a filter to this top row, which will allow me to better assess which of my students have the need of makeup courses. And so I'm scrolling all the way over to one of the last columns here, which is that credit status column. And if I click on that filter, which hopefully you all are able to see, I'm able to filter this list to see. I don't know if you're able to see this pop up on your end, sorry. But I'm able to filter this list for the different grades, whether the credit has been earned, failed, in progress, no credit, or non-credit bearing. And then in the score column, I'm able to see a numeric score as well as NX and NC, which NX meaning the courses in progress and NC for no credit. So I'm going to go ahead and do NX real quick. And now I have a filtered list of all of that data, all of the courses for each student for which they've received a score of NX. And again, the way that I got this data was by going to the downloader feature, clicking on the course data checkbox, downloaded the CSV, and then within Excel, I added a filter to that top row, which let me just share that again, and I will show you how to do. So highlighting that, well, it's technically row 2, but highlighting row 2, I then went to my data tab and I clicked filter. It adds those filters to that row. And then I scrolled over to the score column. And on the screen, if you're not able to see, is a pop-up that allows me to filter and uncheck and only look at one or multiple scores here. So that score again is NX that I filtered for. And so then here's my Excel. I am going to move us along to talk a bit about the enhancements that are coming to the application in our May release. In terms of our release in May, we have a release coming up in May and then another one coming up in September. For now, I'll just preview for you what you're going to be seeing in the May release, and that is for that downloader feature that we were just looking at. We will be adding in Guardian contact information to make it the most actionable as we can for you all. As I already mentioned for graduation progress, which we were looking at before, we are adding in the courses in progress or courses for which there is an NX noted, and so that you can see that on a student-by-student basis. And again, that'll be there in May. And then for the attendance and chronic absenteeism feature, which, for the attendance and chronic absenteeism feature, which we didn't look at today, but I would certainly encourage you all, if you haven't seen it before, to take a look. We are going to be adding in the historical attendance data. So currently what you're looking at in there is just the attendance data for the current year. However, we are adding in prior year data in order to make those comparisons. And we're also going to be adding in daily, weekly, and monthly attendance trends. So right now we just have year to date in there, and we're adding in daily, weekly, and monthly trends. And then we're also going to be flagging for you all consecutive days of absence. So students for which we see that they are missing multiple days of school in a row. Again, all of that information is going to be added in May. We will be putting out a P Weekly announcement once we have that launch date and we're getting closer to for all of you. We'll certainly be providing updated resources explaining all of these various enhancements. And now I'll talk through some of the resources that we have available to you. I previewed some of them already. So the first is our wiki page. And that is where it's sort of a one-stop shop. On that page, we have all of our business rules pertaining to the data that we're displaying in the Insight application. So information about the systems that we're pulling from, how often we pull from those systems, the way that we calculate chronic absenteeism. In particular for the information that we displayed today on advanced courses by race, we talk about overlapping racial subgroups. So obviously students can identify in more than one racial subgroup. We are attributing those students to the racial subgroups that they are identifying in. So we explain all of that information in our wiki as well. The second resource that I haven't highlighted for you today or on my screen, but we'll put a link to in the chat right now, is the user guide. And this is a great resource to use as you're turnkeying any of this information from today with your team. We have explained a walkthrough how to use each of the features in Insight, but then also this is where you're going to find those guiding questions that I mentioned for the advanced courses by race feature, for example, but we do have those guiding questions for a number of features. We also provide a number of scenarios, so helping you all for very much real life scenarios that we have taken from the field from all of you and knowing how you might actually use this application in your daily work and walking you through how you would answer those prompts using the Insight application. Then we have 4 different tip guides. The first 3 are targeted to different staff members. So the first one is for all of you as school leaders. We have a sort of a high-level walkthrough of how you might use Insight as a school leader across a variety of different topics, not just the 3 that we covered today, but all of the data that's in Insight. For guidance counselors and staff that are involved in student programming, we also have these targeted tips guides to help them in understanding how Insight might help them in their role. And then our fourth tips guide here is directly related to what we talked about in our second topic, which is identifying and providing supports to students in earlier cohorts to graduate. Now, I'll mention that all of these resources that we've written are in collaboration with a number of central offices who provide those direct supports to schools and BCOs on various topics. So supporting students with chronic absenteeism or supporting students with repeat suspensions, supporting students in earlier cohorts, et cetera. We have worked with our colleagues who are more expert in this than we all are, and so that these resources are very robust in supporting you, not just in identifying the data, analyzing the data, but then really putting that data into practice. How can you turn this into a support for a student? And then I've already showed you on my screen is the webinar videos. Again, those are available for every single feature in the Insight application. Again, they're no more than 10 minutes. Most of them are actually 4 to 6 minutes in length. And these very much mirror the training that we provide to staff after we do a major release. We usually train our BCO staff. Which leads me to my last bullet, which is that we have partnered with our APAs in each of the BCOs in order to provide them training so that they can best assist you all at the school level with any questions that you might have. I'm just going to show very quickly on my screen where you can find links to a lot of these different pages, because everything is actually linked within the Insight application. So while we are turnkeying this presentation to you all later today, you can access all of these links right now. So within the Insight application, I clicked on the hamburger menu, which I think is the funniest term for something in tech, hamburger, top right. And then beneath all of these links to the various features are the links to all of these resources. So here is our wiki. This is where all of the business rules live. Links to STARS, admin, and classroom, since those are systems that we are pulling data from, as well as student profile. And within the wiki are links to all of the user guide, the tips documents, etc. But within the actual pages of the Insight application, we also link to the webinars for you. So here, for example, is the downloader video tutorial. If you click on this, it will bring you directly to the webinar for this particular feature. And then on some of our pages, for example, attendance and chronic absenteeism, we also link to an understanding the charts page, which is a written walkthrough of all of the visualizations that you're seeing on the screen to help you to analyze that data. To give you the link to our user interview sign-up list. As you've seen throughout this session, my colleagues have noted in the chat in response to some of your feedback, thanks for this feedback, we'll take it into consideration. Insight is very much built out of user feedback. The enhancements that are going into the May release as well as the September release come out of many, many interviews that we hold with school staff as well as BCO staff to best understand your needs for this application. The application in its very early stages contained just a few data points, and it's grown tremendously as a result of your needs. And so we love hearing from all of you. We also not just love hearing from you, we take it into account and into consideration when we are building out these new features and enhancements. So Cleo just put it in the chat, but it's also on the screen. So it will be in the PowerPoint that will turnkey to all of you. And this is the sign up list to be one of our user testers. And a member of our user experience team will contact you at some point in the future when we go to do our user interviews and learn from you how you might be using Insight or not using Insight to solve a particular problem, and then incorporating that feedback. I believe we still have a few minutes left, so I, as well as my colleagues, are sticking around, but you're more than welcome to hop on off. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate all of the work that you all are doing, particularly in such a trying year. So we hope that Insight is a useful tool in making your day more efficient and effective.